Hi, I'm Mike Wright. In May of 1987, SuperValu introduced a new drug and alcohol policy and an employee assistance program. We have a long history of supporting employees and their family members who may have drug and alcohol problems. But only a few of our divisions had employee assistance programs before May of '87. Shortly after the policy became effective and drug testing became a part of SuperValu's efforts to maintain a drug-free workplace, nearly all divisions established their own employee assistance programs. How successful have we been? Well, overall, we feel our company's programs have been very successful. I believe SuperValu has one of the most effective, comprehensive programs in all of the food industry. And you know, we probably have one of the better programs across all of American industry. We have had individual failures, and we've had to terminate people because of work problems relative to abuse of alcohol and illegal drugs. Cocaine has been a particularly difficult drug for employees to beat. Please believe me, the terrible things you hear about crack and cocaine in the news media are all very true. They're taking a terrible toll on our nation. This powerful, addictive drug is very difficult to treat, and our negative experience is similar to what other employers are seeing as well. The National Institute on Drug Abuse estimates that 11% of our country's population over the age of 12 has used cocaine, and 2% are currently users. That's nearly 3 million cocaine users. But despite everything you read about the billions of dollars being spent on illegal drugs in our country, the biggest problem at SuperValu, and I think the biggest problem across the nation, is still the abuse of alcohol. Dr. Mark Gold, a noted physician and director of the nation's best-known cocaine research program, calls alcohol the most destructive drug known to mankind. The news is not all bad, however. Our employee assistance programs have become an integral part of our employee benefit program. Statistics reported by our employee assistance program providers indicate that in the past year, 7% of our employees or family members of employees have sought help from a company-sponsored employee assistance program. For the most part, we do not know who these employees are because confidentiality is the cornerstone on which we have built the program. Of course, employee assistance programs are not just for those with alcohol and drug problems. In fact, our usage reports from program providers, which incidentally provide numbers only and no names, indicate that less than 30% of employees seeking help from our employee assistance program providers are concerned with alcohol or drug problems. The majority of employee assistance cases involve family relationships, psychological problems, and legal issues. This service to employees is for any of these problems that affect the human condition. It can bring you the finest professional help in your community to assist you in facing these problems and to help members of your family as they face these problems. Sometimes the employee assistance program can play such a dramatic role in a person's life that he or she casts aside the confidentiality of the program as a way to promote the concept and help others who have trouble in some aspect of their life so that they may also use the program to seek help. We will now hear from some employees who have used the resources provided by the company, and they have generously and, yes, heroically agreed to participate in this video in order to encourage you and members of your families to use the employee assistance programs if they're needed. I sincerely appreciate their cooperation, and I know you will also appreciate it after you hear their stories.
That were involved in the marriage. Through the counseling with the employee assistance program, I was able to come to terms with the fact that it was a devastating relationship, and it was time for me to do something for myself.
Up until the point I got treatment, I was not so much into the alcohol as I was into the drugs. My drug of choice at that time was crank. I used that a lot, and it started, I felt it starting to affect my work. I had already basically lost and was in the process of losing my family, and it didn't really seem to bother me. But as I could see my job starting to maybe fall away on the wayside, that's when I went into treatment.
Dispatcher notified me when I called in that day that I was have to get a doctor's release before I could come back to work. I wasn't going to any doctor. I wasn't going to go. I was definitely sick. There wasn't no question about that, but it was all alcohol and stuff. So a while before that, I had received some literature through the company on alcohol and drug abuse. So the wife talked to me a little bit, and I finally contacted the personnel manager and set up an appointment, and the wife and I went down and talked with him, and I finally consented to seek help. And
I went through a divorce, and the minute that happened, I felt like a loser. I just could care less whether or not I lived. I wish I could die. I thought about committing suicide. I've never succeeded, thank God for it. And I just pray to God and thank God for finding me the help and let me go through alcohol treatment center so I could get my life back on the right track and just be happy with myself, be proud of myself, which is something that I never was before. I thought I was, but deep down, I really had nothing to be proud of as long as I was a user of alcohol.
Don drank for 22 years, heavy drinking there towards the last. First year we were married, he did not drink, but for 22 years, I prayed that he would quit drinking, and it just went from bad to worse until he hit his bottom and realized that he did have a drinking problem and sought help.
the help is there. Of course, you have to remember that you're the only one that can do it. Just pick the phone up and contact the AP, and I haven't regretted a minute of it.
The support that I was given from my company through going to the treatment center has been tremendous. My life, as well as my job, have changed for the better in more ways than one. I've been able to get, I feel, the respect back from the people I work with. I've also been able to progress in my job and use my abilities that I have and always have had, and who knows now where I may end up going.
The treatment center has changed my life in a very dramatic way. all the wonderful responses and feelings that I have now, I could never get into full detail. But the most promising one that I really enjoy about myself now is that I can call myself a man. I can live up to my responsibilities. I'm not afraid of making a mistake.
Some people will say, well, I don't like talking to strangers. And if they've never been to a counselor, I can see where they would have that concept that you are talking to a stranger, but you're really talking to a trained professional.
I came around and realized finally that I wanted this for me. And then when I started feeling that way, everything started falling in place a little bit better. I felt better inside and stuff. So I highly recommend the program. I think it's just one of the best programs there is.
I would recommend the EAP program to not only problems of drug or alcohol, but there are so many other problems people may have in their life that they are able to seek help and get the help through the EAP program that we have. And problems such as financial problems, other things that don't necessarily relate to an alcoholic or a drug problem. There's so many things. Just living can be a problem. A person needs to find help in coping with stress of day-to-day living. As a supervisor, the EAP program has been very beneficial. It enables us as supervisors to fight that urge of being a counselor. We're not a professional counselor by any means, and the EAP program gives us a tool to refer a person to, that if we feel there could be a problem or if there's any indication of any problems that might be out there, the EAP program is there for us to refer the person to go to.
If you do not know where to go and who to contact, call your Employee Assistance Program. This is what Don did when he finally realized he had a drinking problem. And this is where we got our help. And it has changed our lives completely.
Our purpose in implementing employee assistance programs in each division was to help employees and their family members with their problems. Each of the employees you just saw took advantage of the resources this company is making available to help people who have trouble in their lives. Remember, the trouble does not have to be drugs or alcohol. Our employee assistance programs are prepared to help employees and their families with nearly any problem. Sometime in our life, each of us can reasonably expect to face a situation where an employee assistance program can be an invaluable, helpful tool. There is another aspect of our drug and alcohol abuse policy, which was adopted in May 1987, which we need to comment upon. Now, that policy has served us very well over the last couple of years. However, there is a new federal law which, along with many procedural changes, may cause us to alter fundamental elements of the existing policy. The biggest change would be the routine use of random testing for truck drivers, a practice that was counter to our philosophy when we drafted the original policy. Although still an issue in the federal courts, it is very likely that we will be required to begin random testing of truck drivers on or sometime after December 21, 1989. Of course, if the law mandates such testing, we have no choice but to comply. Our intent, however, is to do no random testing beyond the requirements that the federal government imposes upon us. I again would like to take the time to thank all of the employees who appeared in this video. I admire them for their courage. I respect them for seeking help for their problems. And I hope that they provide to others in our Super Value family an inspiration to seek help for problems that you may be encountering. We know that these personal problems can detract from the quality of our lives, both here during the hours of work, but also the lives that you have with your family and loved ones. Thank you for taking the time to view this video, and let's hope we continue to make our Employee Assistance Program a very successful one. Thank you.